It's yeah. I think it's fine because I was taking notes on what you were saying, so it's not like I
Okay,
missed.
that's good.
Mm, okay, almost there.
Anyway, just so that since you're doing that, I'll give an overview of what we were discussing so that
Okay.
we can all remember
Hmm.
in the future.
Yeah.
Basically, what we discussed about was the FI3 questionnaire, the fact that FI3 by design was built for people who were focused on, you know, building a questionnaire for a physician or a physician assistant or a physiotherapist. So FI3 was not really designed for the patient to follow. The goal with this project is to make sure that, we try to come up with easy set of questions to answer the question, can people do FI3 by themselves? Right? That's our goal. The tools that what we the things that we discussed about were how do we place the questions, how to go over the instructions so that it's easy. So now you are, reading the question and doing that. Yep,
I
go
feel
ahead.
like all three of these should be moved to the end.
Yep.
Okay, let me write that. Let me write that down. Um,
The first chunk of questions should basically be, you know, sh you giving them instructions and making sure that the environment is correct to perform the test.
okay. So, so it should be, is the metronome set? So I'll put yes, the metronome is set.
Mm-hmm.
And then these three I would be doing at the end. So first I'd be starting with neck movement.
Mm-hmm.
So I did the task. I've hit it for 2 minutes, 40 BPM, and I did it. Was I able to do
Mm-hmm.
it? Um,
Mm-hmm.
let's say yeah. This I didn't make any of these required because if someone
Mm-hmm.
didn't do one side, then they could just skip it.
Yes.
Could I move my joints fully? Yes. This doesn't apply to me. I would say
Mm-hmm.
0 effort because I don't. Right
Mm-hmm.
shoulder, was I able to do full number? Yes. Not applicable, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And then 10, I mean 0.
Okay.
Left full number movements for my left shoulder, yes. Can I move my joints fully? Yes. And then I'll put 0 here. Was I able to do full number movements? Yes. Bless you. Not applicable. Yes. Not applicable. 0. Why is that there? Oh, I moved the wrong one. This should
That's
be,
okay.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Left hip. Were you able to do the movements? Yes. Can I move my joints fully? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
0.
I would make this a checkbox.
This one?
No, not that. If had limited, if you had limited movement, were you still able to do the task within your range of movement? That I would make as a checkbox.
Yeah, we can just.
And anything that you want them to click on, I think I would make that as a checkbox.
Okay.
Like when you're asking yes or no, it's just a little bit easier if it's just a checkbox.
Okay.
Mm.
Oh,
And have we considered that we have to, you know, can we take more information through the questionnaire?
I mean, we could take like name
Meaning,
and
apart from yes or no, like when they're doing the task, is there anything else that you think that we can take?
we could get like name, age, if they have any like muscle disorder, bone disorders,
Mm-hmm.
anything that could affect like their movement.
Okay, got it.
Um, Okay, nope, still wrong.
Okay. That's okay. I think we can figure that out later. But I think we got the good idea
Yeah,
when it comes to, so I would say this would require a little bit more like redesigning and, you know, more of instructional rather and getting some information out of it. And I really like the fact that, there were basic yes or no questions. I
yeah.
liked it. And the other thing, when you ask like how difficult it was, right? I think that is a different questionnaire altogether.
Okay.
I I think that was taken from the Borg questionnaire, patient's perspective. I think they had like two different columns, right? One for the task and the other one was for feeling or something.
Oh yeah, there was like oh, yeah. I think if I remember
Yes.
correctly, it was like two different sections.
Yeah. So I think we need to look into how to use the Borg questionnaire or Borg
Mhm.
scale or when to use it, right?
Okay. All right.
Maybe it was designed to be used in one sitting or just, checklist rather than asking for each task. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's because we don't want to go back and validate that again. Right?
Yeah.
So that's the feedback from my end. But this is good. This is like good progress. I'm happy with your design and, thought flow. I would make, apart from the couple of changes, and I think they are pretty minor changes, right? So
Mhm.
that's good. I'm happy.
Okay. And the other thing I had
Mm-hmm.
made was I went over a couple papers. So
Mm-hmm.
structure, limitations, outcomes, and metrics of research papers.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what's going on? Um, okay, I need to pull up the paper because I don't really remember what these are
Yep.
about. Okay, what am I? Okay, so this one was about essentially they were kind of validating the idea that wearable motion capture devices, like I think you could put them like right here or right here, they would implement them into like in jobs where there's like a lot of movement,
Mm-hmm.
and they use these to kind of as like a marker for work-related musculoskeletal disorders or just like injuries. And I thought this was kind of like the idea was kind of similar to what we were doing because ours was like you're examining someone's like sit to stand to see if there's any changes, can use that as a marker to see if there could be like any disorder. Um, so here the structure. So they start off with like the context, the background, um, introducing the topic. I have to, yeah, this one right here. Hit the abstract. Yeah, the introduction introduces basically what is um like the examples of disorders, how are they caused, um, obligations for management, and then it goes into the oh my gosh, what is happening? Methods, whereas
Mm-hmm.
right here, materials and methods, how they were going to do, like how they were going to validate it. And here it says that they were kind of like looking at other like articles, other papers.
Mm-hmm.
For this narrative review, it was yeah, this entire study was more of like a review of other papers and using that to
Mm-hmm.
validate their claim.
Mm-hmm.
And then application of the devices. Yeah, this is when I was saying that like I feel like there should be a picture. This is
Mm-hmm.
no, there was like yeah, right here.
Mm.
This is like
Okay.
more complicated, but this is like a simple one that you just like probably more what's the word? Convenient,
Yes.
realistic.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Realistic.
and then here. in the discussion, they kind of talked about like the challenges, limitations of it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, some of the limitations that I found was data accuracy. So, for like example, take an Apple Watch. This is something just I just thought of. It's like, I wear an Apple Watch sometimes, and at the last 10 minutes of every hour, it's like, oh, you need to stand up. But I won't even stand up, and it'll be like, you completed you stood up, and I'm like, I didn't do anything. So the issue is with this is um in the paper they're talking about how they're gonna be like looking at specifically the trunk area. And I was like, okay, well, here I am sitting, I'm talking and I'm moving my hands, but I'm not really like I'm not doing anything like what's the word, strenuating. I'm not putting stress on my body. I'm just sitting here and I'm talking. So I thought that
Yeah.
was a limitation that it could consider like this movement as like something like I was doing physical labor or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then yeah, it covers upper body, not lower. Like they said they were only like mostly looking at the trunk area.
Mm-hmm.
And then it came to like the conclusions. So the conclusion was the outcome.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, what they were saying was risk assessment, you know, prevention of work-related disorder like injuries, real-time monitoring because they're wearing it while they're working, you get that data, and then
Mm-hmm.
the reduction of WMSTs, SDs, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then metrics, it was kind of just like body segment tracking. They mentioned a lot about like how video games they'll do body. I think I mentioned it here somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like they would track bodies and like recreate it. See
Mm-hmm.
sports games. That was like one of the things that they could use.
Mm-hmm.
And then second paper, markless motion capture to quantify functional performance in neurodegeneration. This was also like kind of a review paper.
Mm-hmm.
Let me look at this. Um,
But I think I'll stop you here for a
okay.
second. I think what would be like really helpful is when you make see, I really like the thought that has gone into like making it one slide. And, the simplest way to remember or recall is to put pictures. So when you went to that paper, right, you showed me that, okay, this is how the device looks. So putting that picture into the slide
Mhm.
will be very, very easy and convenient for you so that you don't have to move back to that paper,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Even just for you to recall. So that's what I would say is very important. And since see, the theme of this presentation was you need to make the other person understand, like who has no idea about, these wearables and blah, 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 to understand what you're doing and how other people are doing it,
Mhm.
right? And since the goal is to say that, okay, your way is better, you would really focus on the limitations that other people have identified in the techniques,
Mhm.
right? So think about it. Each paper, so how I put it is two slides for each paper, right? The first thing should be the method of what the people have done, right? What the other paper has followed, so that it gives me an orientation of what they did. Then in the second slide, you start off with the strength of their technique, and then highlight the weaknesses of the techniques. When you come to highlighting the weakness, that should be something that you are able to address through your study. Does that make sense? That goes
Yeah.
into your presentation. Now, how you have done it is the two slides that I told you, this is the third summary slide,
Okay.
right? Or this could be the first slide of the two slides of the,
Mhm.
three slides using your way. Then I would be good. Make sense?
Mhm.
But it really depends on how much time you want to spend on this particular slide. I don't think you can just give like an overview, like, okay, in this study, I'm going to discuss about the structure, the outcomes, the metrics, and then you say, go to the next slide and discuss about that part.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Mhm.
Okay. So, but I understood. So what was your takeaway from this?
My takeaway from this one was that, by the implementing motion capture, it just is like you can kind of detect the work-related like skeletal disorders before they happen. Like you use that
Mm-hmm.
as like a sign, like saying, "Oh, look, this person like they've been like slowing down consistently." That's a
Mm-hmm.
red flag. Or
Mm-hmm.
maybe they're just lazy, who knows, but still something to check out.
Okay. So let
But
me, I would suggest that insert text into this, insert two things, right? One is the
mhm,
goal, and metric you've already put, you put the goal over there. What you said, what you basically told me is the goal, right?
mhm.
And when you read that, what I understood was it looks like having a reliable way to track movement seems very important. Oh
Let's
God.
see.
I know I am sneezing so much today. Yeah, having a reliable way to track movement is important. And one of the use case for being able to track that is industry workers, where they're more prone to falls and high risk activities that they're doing, where they're more prone to falls. Make sense? That's the takeaway from this. The use case was the takeaway from this. Okay. Now,
Yeah.
okay, you want to go to the second paper?
Yeah. So this one to look motion capture. Okay, so if I remember this one correctly,
Mm-hmm.
so this one was essentially about using motion capture to
Mm-hmm.
find markers of like neurodegenerative diseases. So like,
Can you show
in
me the title?
yeah, because like in like
Markless
a lot of like,
motion capture. Mm-hmm.
diseases where like Parkinson's or Alzheimer's or dementia, you're forgetting how to like you forget a lot of like simple tasks. Or like I know a big one is like you kind of forget how to walk, you kind of forget how to feed yourself. Um, just stuff like that. And they use the motion capture. And obviously, like, sometimes it could progress really slowly and you might not realize it until it's too late. So they're basically like saying that this motion capture is gonna help us um spot these like the neurodegeneration faster or sooner.
Okay, got
And
it.
also, it says to aid in clinical decision making. So
Mm-hmm.
if it's like if you do the motion capture multiple times and it's progressing faster, you can figure out how to, you know, you can think of a care plan based on that, or if it's progressing slowly. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so the structure, oh, it had the background, the instruct, it had the abstract. So it
Mm-hmm.
introduces what markless motion capture is, how it's used. Um, it also does mention limitations such as lack of portability, the need for trained staff, and the requirement of reflective markers. I think I think all the limitations that they were mentioning, most of them are like this, like our study kind of addresses it because it's a lot more accessible. So I thought that's why is one of the
Mm-hmm.
reasons why I chose this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, introduction into why markerless motion capture is good. And
Mm-hmm.
then it kind of went into the study design and
Mm-hmm.
then the method. So we had the search strategy, so the types of studies that they used,
Mm-hmm.
inclusion, exclusion criteria, how they got the
Mm-hmm.
data, and then they go into the results saying 131. This figure just represents how they narrowed it down, I
Mm-hmm.
think, to like 26 studies for
Yes.
reasons why they excluded them.
That is a
Um,
good way to come up with your literature review,
yeah, honestly,
right?
looking at this, it made a lot of sense. I thought
Yeah.
this was really, really good because it's just simple. I can understand it really easily because of the arrows and everything.
Yeah.
And then results, we are at the bottom. This is just all like analyzing the 26 studies of the
Mm-hmm.
action of choosing. More
Mm-hmm.
about that, more about that.
So if you can stop, right, go on top, you look at the different here, that table. Yeah, over here, the markerless motion capture devices and feature extractions used, right? So this is a great way to, it's a cheat code, basically. All these review papers are there to simplify your work, right?
Hmm.
You should just take this review paper and use all these references in your paper, right?
Yeah.
Look at that. You have like different mechanisms of capturing video, right? And then you see what those mechanisms are, and then how those mechanisms are different to the mechanism that we are using.
Hmm.
That's it. That is
Yeah.
most of your discussion right here,
Mhm.
right? So you need to, think about that aspect. And you have to think about, okay, one of the devices that we are using is like a webcam or a mobile video. So you need to see like, okay, have they used that? Which studies have used that? And then what has their outcome been?
Hmm.
Right? So that's something that I would say. So when they say like open pose or whatever, right? These are standard algorithms and standard models. For
Yeah.
example, when I say a standard model, right? What goes into standardizing the model to make sure the output is consistent? The
It,
input is always fixed. When I say input is fixed, right? See, your iPhone 14 or whatever, iPhone 16, the new one might be able to take 4K video, right?
hmm.
4K has, first of all, let's say 4K video. 4K video has a lot of pixels,
Yeah.
right? Like 4,000 pixels or something like that. I don't know how exactly it's calculated. Now, the amount of information that can capture is very different from, iPhone 6. Do you agree?
Hmm.
So if we have two different, so I would say I'm keeping iPhone 16 and iPhone 6. And do, do you agree that they're going to capture different amounts of information?
Yeah.
Right? Just because of the quality of the video. Now, if you have a standard model that has to take a standard input, right? What is going to happen to the 4K video? To standardize the input, you have to compress it down,
Yeah.
right? So you have to compress it down to a certain value. In most of the cases, that value will be, 480p, for example. Right? So
Mhm.
even if you're taking a 4K video, if you have to compress it to 480p, then what is the difference between using an iPhone 6 versus an iPhone 16? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right? Because the iPhone 6 can probably take a 720p video. You're anyway compressing it down to, 480p. So that is something that you need to identify and debate about, and pull it out and say that, okay, hey, since we are using these models, the input that is going in is 480p. So logically, it doesn't make sense. You could use a high definition camera, like whatever Kinetic V2 or an iPhone 6 camera. The output should not be different. You
Yeah.
should not be able to see a difference in output. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
And this is like, you know, see, I think one would know that information only if you have ever used those models or if you worked on that models, right? The only
Yeah.
reason I know it was because I was looking into, how to input information into model for the rash segmentation project, right? So it's fine. So that is something that I would take away from this table. I will say like highlight this, mark it for your reference. This is going to be very useful for us,
Okay.
for you. Okay? Yes, go ahead.
What else? Yeah, results. Let me scroll all the way down.
And you should go over like in the different technology they've used, what were the author's opinion on which is better.
Okay. Yeah. Um, Paucity. There's more evidence of the use of MMC with full body tracking in patients compared to those with dementia. Bias, this demonstrates a bias toward movement disorders.
Mhm.
Well conducted. Moreover, the studies that included patients with dementia were all conducted in inpatient dementia units, indicating lack of research involving this patient group in real-world settings.
Mm-hmm.
This is basically saying they want more research done on this topic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, lack of
Sorry.
consensus.
No. What was the inference again from that?
Which one from here? They're just saying they want more research on like degenerative disorders in real world setting because a lot of the
Mhm.
studies used patient groups from inpatient units
Okay,
because
let's
not
stop here,
everyone. Oh,
right?
yeah.
Tell me, why is it that we don't have real world studies?
Because it's harder to get people to do it because if you have dementia, you're gonna forget to they're gonna forget to do the checkup. Like if you're an inpatient, you kind of have no choice. Well, you have a choice, but like
You're more motivated to do it.
if they're in the inpatient,
I mean, yeah, because okay, this is what we noticed, right? When we enroll patients into our trial, it's the referring physician has spoken to them about it, right? Then they'll be like, hey, you're the treating physician, and they don't want to say no to you, to whatever you suggest, right? So for the treating physician, they might say yes. And then if the study doctor calls, they'll be like, okay, yes. But when the research coordinator tries to call, they will not even pick up,
yeah.
right? So it could be that they think that the quality of care that you give them might change based on this. That's just an assumption that I have. And that is not a wrong assumption because we are seeing that. Right?
Mhm.
So you take that assumption into a scenario where you have to see this doctor every day because he is going to, be on rounds and he's giving you care. So you are very motivated to tell whatever he does, do whatever he says.
Yeah.
So that's your point. So how would you overcome this?
To do it in like real world settings.
Yeah.
You kind of need to get something to motivate them. Like I know, I remember earlier this year, there was
hmm
like these group of kids from UT Dallas, and they
hmm
were doing like something on like the mental health of South Asian teenagers in relation to like parenting techniques. And
Okay.
they offered money. It was like $10 for because like the parent and the child had to fill it out. So they offered us like $10 each, and I was like, I'll do it. And I came home. As soon as I came home, I gave my mom the flyer. I said, we're doing this, and I sat down and I filled it out. So if you have the resources, maybe like monetary, you could give them some money
hmm
because
That
I
is
think
one thing. But I would say like you said, right?
like,
They're
what,
dementia patients, maybe they forget.
oh, that's so true. They will also forget to do it.
Yeah. But I think recommendation or the easier thing would be uh having like, okay, this one room wherever they're walking or easy, that is you put a CCTV camera right? And then since you see, your goal is not to identify only in hospital setting, right? You want to see in their normal day-to-day activities, h- can you figure out the progression of movement disorder? That was our goal,
Yeah.
honestly. That's the reason why I know this. It's like, okay, see, let's say initially when the patient visits, their hand might be moving this way.
Yeah.
Okay. Then after, after some time, they visit like 2 years, they might be moving this way, right? So in the meantime, even if you can, the question that arose when it came to movement disorders were, let's say you put a CCTV camera, or let's say they're using whatever best sensor that is available. How is my treatment plan going to change?
Mm, and
Right? That's
yeah.
the question that they had. It's a very valid question, right? It's like, oh, Google is giving me very personalized ads where I'm buying stuff. It is useful to me. What was the trade-off, right? Google has been tracking you from a very long time whenever you used whatever of their services, right? So you traded off, you gave something as a trade-off to be able to get something good. So
Wait,
if
so
Mhm.
okay. Would you like if you want to do real world, you just install cameras in their house?
Yeah,
But like how would you go about doing that? I feel like that there's like that could have
l-
like a lot of like issues.
I know you might need to like specifically design cameras a certain way. You can do that.
Motion capture, they only capture when someone's walking.
Yeah, like black everything out. And I think in our sit to stand itself, I think I had kind of, you know, done it, right? I showed you one of the video.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
mean, one of
it blacked everything out except for the person when they were.
exactly. That can be by default,
Mhm.
right? And make sure that it is not connected to the internet.
Oh yeah, because then it can get hacked.
Right? Again, see, it really depends on how we plan on doing it. That's something I would say. But see, it need not be that you are installing this at home, right? Think about old age homes, right? In like a private, in a public setting, you have a story I can see.
Yeah.
In a common space, you might be able to track like how they're walking around or how they're moving, and even like track if someone fell down and they're not able to ask for help, right?
Yeah.
That's something that you don't have like expectation of privacy as much as your home. Anyway, that is just like
Yeah.
brainstorming use case, but yeah, go ahead.
Um, and
Oh,
then
we didn't go through the other paragraph you were
oh,
showing me.
uh, for the discussion. Yeah, this one in contrast, evaluation of activities of daily living.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, lack consensus. Important to know the effectiveness of several of these feature extraction models has not been tested. So it
Mm-hmm.
also like putting the models like the motion capture in actual real world settings, like that hasn't there's not that much research on that either. So it's a whole new world out there. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of this is just like basically like a call to action saying we need more studies on real
Mm-hmm.
world. That's
Yes.
literally, and then the limitations, yeah. Limitations, not enough research has been conducted. It's not portable. Also, I meant to write requires staff, which is not it's not really convenient because I know like you when you want to make a doctor's appointment, they're not available all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's really
Yeah.
inconvenient. So I like sometimes I'll go like one time I had to go 2 months without going to the orthodontist because they had no appointments that worked for my schedule. So it just like that. But the outcomes, what they were saying were like the positives of this was potential from home monitoring, which was kind of what we were saying about putting the cameras inside their house, can
Mm-hmm.
generate objective and quantifiable digital biomarkers. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you can see that they are
Mm-hmm.
struggling, and then detect
Yeah.
subtle changes. If the motion capture is advanced enough, you can see like the smallest like shake. Maybe it's not that
Mm-hmm.
noticeable to the human eye, but the camera could detect it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it talks about like the types of cameras. For example, type of like I think it's red, blue, green.
Yes.
It analyzed functional tasks, so we talked about other tasks such as sit to stand, kind
Mm-hmm.
of comparing with that, and then comparison with gold standard. So the other type of it's like assessments such as sit to stand. It compared it with that.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty much it for this one. And then the third one I looked at was
I think
development of
before you go ahead, can you go back? Yes. So here, this gave me a good idea on like what was kind of lacking. And I think the general theme that I see is exploring use cases for the technology, right? Like, okay, one was so the workplace work hazards, right? Let's call it that. Second one was, neurodegeneration. Like, can you track progression in neurodegenerative cases? Then, okay, and now you move on.
um this one this is I think the most similar to what we're like working on.
Hmm.
Development of smartphone application for markerless three-dimensional motion capture based on deep learning model.
Hmm.
Um, copy paste.
But this is good literature review, honestly.
Yeah, this
Really
was
good literature review. No, like what you have done, I'm very happy with the literature review.
thank you. I actually have an extra one that just put in for honorable mention. I thought it
Honorable
was
mention.
I thought it was something we could just is we don't have to like go over it. I just thought it was good. So
Uh-huh.
obviously start from the beginning. Introduction.
No, I need to see title first.
Oh, the title, yeah. Development of
Yeah.
smartphone application for markerless three-dimensional motion capture based on deep learning model. So
You know what I learned today
what did what did you
through
learn?
through our session? We should use markerless, the term markerless
Yeah,
in our titles.
I think like everything says markerless, so I think that we should use.
Yes, go
To
ahead.
quantitatively assess pathological gait, we developed a novel smartphone application for full body human motion tracking in real time from markerless video-based images using a smartphone monocular camera and deep learning. So
Mm-hmm.
we have the abstract.
Mm-hmm.
The introduction, it kind of just started going into how like recording of like movement,
Yes.
uh, different types of patterns, all the patterns here, a lot of it. This was, I think, the most detailed.
Oh
Yeah, so
yeah.
we have introduction, background. I don't know if we have to go through all of it. And then it went into materials and methods. So first was like the data set for the deep learning. Obviously, like they use common objects in context 2017 data set for the first training for 2D human
Mm-hmm.
pose. And then in order to create their own training data set for 3D tracking,
Mm-hmm.
90 original humanoids CG characters that they created. I thought that was really
Mm-hmm.
impressive. Yeah, here are the
Oh
pictures.
wow.
I kind of
Okay.
laughed when I saw this because I thought this was really funny. And I was
Okay.
like, but then I remembered like I'm pretty all the authors are Japanese, so I'm like, this makes sense. Um, execution,
Mm-hmm.
more of like the actual computer stuff.
Mm-hmm.
D64 bit 64 central processing. Yeah, most of this was essentially just about the AI.
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of visual on how the AI determines
Mm-hmm.
and very complicated stuff. The result, they have an
Mm-hmm.
app, and this is where we're getting to the limitation. So they have an app,
Mm-hmm.
but the app is only restricted to iOS. So no Android user can use this. And considering that majority of the world uses Androids,
Mm-hmm.
you're basically just restricting yourself to like Europe and like the US and Canada.
Mm,
Because if I think about countries where like or like places where iOS is used the most, it's like North America and Europe. Because if whenever I go to like or maybe Dubai, because like in India, for
mhm.
example, like I rarely ever see Apple phones, and but like majority of people use Android, so that's like a whole group of people that you're missing out on. And
Correct.
they actually address this themselves that they like a limitation where we can only we're only on iOS. Another
Build it
thing
for
is
them.
yeah, another thing is camera sensitivity and processing
Mhm,
issues because it is a phone. Like
mhm.
it's not, it's just a phone. Like obviously a phone is really like it's still very high tech or but
It's
because
just
like
a phone.
processing the hardware might not be sophisticated enough to use because you saw the picture I showed you. It's really complicated how the AI works, and
Mhm.
they're like the phone not
When
all the
was this
time.
paper published?
I think it was a couple years ago.
Yeah. uh,
Yeah, right here. This was
20.
2022.
Okay. In AI
Um,
years, that is like
oh,
grandmom.
so long ago.
Yeah.
But they were just saying the phone would have issues with with like running the AI.
Hmm.
But the outcome was that this does make like the assessment a lot simpler and it's more cost-effective solution.
Mm.
And the metrics they compared it to motion capture. So like the big motion capture systems are like it's obviously a lot more accessible. And then they mentioned a lot about how this it captures as follows 24 body joints. I didn't write down
Hmm.
all of them. 24 key points, 24 full key points. And then they mentioned this a lot, so I felt like I had to include it
You know why they've mentioned those key points and why it's important? It's
because it's
because that is what the model is designed to track, like key
the
joints.
24, yeah,
Yes.
24, 24. Yeah, I think
That
these are
is
all,
that's the thing that is in that Coco JSON data.
yeah. Yeah, let me open up the honorable mention. I kind of forgot what this was. Clinical gait analysis using video-based pose estimation, multiple perspectives, clinical populations, and measuring change.
Okay, stop. Go top. This was published in 24. Okay,
2024. Oh,
got
this
it.
year. That's why I wanted to include it. I thought
Okay.
this is this all of it? Yeah. I actually don't even remember reading this.
So what data set they've used or what model have they used?
For this one or for this one? The
No,
smartphone.
for yeah.
Um, I don't even think. Let me see. Where was it?
Is it like a review paper or?
I'm pretty sure. I think so. I need to look over this
Yeah, I
again.
think it's a review.
Parkinson's, introductions, human locomotions. Let me just go to results, see what they're saying.
Okay.
We validated a frontal plane approach. We're doing overhead walking with young participants. Okay. No, no, I think they were testing on
They're testing.
actual people.
Yes.
Gait, speed. Yeah, testing in person.
This is very important, like the gate is kind of difficult to assess.
Gait,
See, how
speed.
you understand information is very different from how someone else understands information,
Yeah.
right? Like, and how do you make the
Mm,
machine understand information? That is like completely different.
here. This is what they're in this study. We demonstrated a new approach for performing clinical gait
Uh,
analysis using simple videos recorded on low-cost devices.
yes. Open pose. Yeah, got it.
I thought this was, I think this is honestly more similar than this, considering that it's a lot more recent.
Yes. No, I think the we should reference the development of smartphone app through development for our technique. That should be our. You remember? what I told, you need to have like 3 or 4 papers that are like, hey, these are the ones that are most important for my study, right? And the developing of the smartphone app, this paper, and the review, and the FI3 paper. Those are the 4 papers that I would say are most crucial for our study,
Mhm.
right? See, when I say study, right, you kind of understand now that if you have like adjacent knowledge, everything makes sense.
Yeah.
So, what are the papers that are giving you that knowledge?
I mean, this could be one of them.
Yes, it is one of them.
Yeah.
It's not could be one of them. This is going to one of the references and saying that okay, how our method, the SAM2 method, is better compared to the open pose model. Okay, so I'll show you. So since we had some more time, we had budgeted before, I do have a couple of updates for us
Mhm.
that I'm able to show.
I'll be right back. I should go turn on my AC.
Mhm. What did you want to do again?
I had to go. I don't know why it was so hot in my room. So, and I went to go check, and for some reason the heat was on, and it was like in the 80s, and I was like, who made it this hot?
Oh my God, 80 is
But
really hard
yeah, and then
overall.
I don't wear a sweatshirt too, so I had to go. I turned it all like really down.
Yeah, that's good.
In the meanwhile, let me tell you my nursing home story. This is my
Mhm.
first week working at the nursing home.
Mhm.
God. I'm not gonna do any specifics, but there was this one resident. We were giving them a shower,
Uh-huh.
and they were showering. Since a lot of them they're kind of incontinent, just they started having bowel movements, but it wouldn't stop.
Okay.
So it was the first day too, and I wasn't
Oh
expecting.
wow. Shocker.
And we still have 4 more weeks, so I don't know how I'm gonna survive. But
Oh wow.
and it's not like like seeing it, I don't care. I don't care like if I have to see them like naked, like I don't care about that. But the smell, I was talking with my other classmates. It's just the smell. We can't handle it, but we have to.
Yeah.
We could get kicked out of the program if we don't handle it. So it is what
Oh
it is.
really? I think just as hazard or just like good practice, they have to give you like masks, which are
We can't wear them. We can't wear masks.
you can't?
No, because our teacher was like, because none of the nurse aides wear masks. Our teacher was like, I can't force you guys to not wear masks, but I highly recommend that you don't wear masks because it's really rude. If I was that person in the nursing home and a student wore a mask when they were showering me, I totally understand. Like I get it. If the smell is bad, the smell is bad. I get it. I wouldn't be hurt. And half of these people don't even know what they're saying. So I don't think they care if I wear a mask. But my teacher won't let us wear one, so it is what it
Okay.
is. Fine.
Okay, got it. So let me, start with the difference, right? These are the
Yeah.
models that I've experimented. So
Mhm.
before we got the SAM2 model, this is how the model was. This is like one of the best models, right? That was before 2024. So given that we could track information and given that there is noise over here, the human tracking was not very feasible,
Yeah.
right? So after SAM2 came, we were able to precisely track the human, right? And the advantage of SAM2 was, you know, a video is basically a collection of images, right? And
Yeah.
that's common knowledge. So before SAM2, what everyone were doing was they used to split the video into images and then they used to process the each image, right? So think about this. The computer has the possibility of making an error for each image. So you compound the error and you might get it's like garbage in, garbage out, right? So that was what was happening. So that is the reason why Facebook research thought about it and they were like, okay, hey, we have all this prior context through the previous image.
Yeah.
What if we pass that context to the next image? Right? So that the tracking becomes more accurate. So basically, what SAM2 is doing is taking the context of the past image, pushing it to the next set of images in the video. So and then it cleans up if it makes an error in tracking in the second image. So when I say error, right, look at this detection. One is it's detecting the human. In the second one is it's detecting something over there on top, right? So what used to happen with other models is even that used to be detected as human. In one of the image, it's possible, right? You can make that error. So in SAM2, since you're passing on only this as the context, it cleans up the other aspect.
Yeah.
That is the reason why SAM2 is better. Make sense? That's number one. Number two, I have to join through this laptop, but
Okay.
I'll show you. It will be good. Mhm. No, continue. I'll not, I'll share the screen. And you know how restrictive it is? It works only on computers that have NVIDIA GPUs. It doesn't work on regular computers.
What?
Yeah, because it was trained. Again, it's so new, right? You can't
Yeah.
do anything about it. So you can see this, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so look, you can see me, right?
I
Now,
can.
all the movement disorder papers prior to 2024, the methodology that they used was this. See, in this model, the two things are happening. First one is it has to detect that there's a hand, right? And it has to detect that it's a hand. And you see those red points? Each of that is a landmark that it is detecting accurately. This is for the thumb, this is for the index finger, middle finger, so and so, right? See, if I change movement, it might not be able to do a great job in
Wait, am I supposed
tracking.
to see the? Am I supposed to see the tracking?
Yes.
Oh wait, I can only see this. I was looking at the side presentation. That's what I can see.
So are you? Oh, I'm doing sharing two things.
Okay. Yes, that was good.
This is the only thing, right?
Yeah.
So are you able to see the way it's tracking?
Yeah.
Let's see this. If I change like lighting or something, right? Or if the quality of the picture changes, right? Look at that. It's still doing a pretty good job, right?
Yeah.
Now, see this, think about use case. That's very important, right? Use case is important. In movement disorders, will the patients be holding their hand this way
Uh,
alone?
no.
No, right? They'll be doing this,
Yeah.
right? It will be shaking and, it'll be moving ahead, moving down, blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
So that is how the patients are going to move their hand. So in some cases, what happens is this tracking might not be that accurate. In some places, it's still accurate. It still is doing a pretty good job, but in some cases, it might not be that accurate, right? In some regions it stopped. See,
Yeah.
did you see it go away?
Yeah.
It went away,
Yeah.
right? So what about the information during that time? You lost it.
Yeah.
This is the best model. That's, see, you can see now that it was not there. The tracking was not there in the other hand.
Yeah.
Makes sense?
Hmm.
So this is the best model that we had. Given this was our best model, what could we do with it? Right? Not much.
Hmm.
And can you think about why Facebook developed this model? Again, this is like Facebook's model. Do you know like why Facebook developed the precise hand tracking? Did you see their glasses? The
Oh,
new
like the,
glasses?
I think so. Is it the ones that they can like film through them?
Yes.
Oh yeah, I saw this.
Yeah. That was, I think, a little bit older. They came up with new glasses. Like it just looks like regular glass, like the one that
Yeah.
you are wearing, and then you can control stuff through your hands. So that is why they had to master hand tracking. So when they made it open source, they saw the use cases for their technology that they never thought of, right? And then they implemented those use cases and made their technology better, right? That's really smart, to be
Yeah.
honest, right? So that's kind of the limitation. So what the reason why I showed you that, let me leave that. The reason why I showed you that is it's a good demo of what we had prior to 2024.
Mhm.
Right? Now think about the video segmentation model that I told you about. We are not going to face those challenges, right? So our tracking might be much more accurate and we will get better correlation with the disease progression compared to any other model that's out there. So what are the things that you can do with the information that we have after today is you can write a review paper and add the new model that is out there, right, as one of the ways of doing it. The second thing is you can build a use case that is now possible due to the new model that is out there. Then the third thing is you need to like design a study to come up with the best environment for the use case that you envision. Make sense? These are the three things that go into it. Does that sound good?
Mhm.
So, what do you think you would have to do for the next class?
Next class I could probably edit the questionnaire a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Just the final touches.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, based on what we talked about today and with what you just said,
Mm-hmm.
I could probably do some research on like recent models, like past like 2, 3 months, see what people are doing now,
Yes.
and then like how they're implementing newer AI models. And I could probably just do
Mm-hmm.
like the same thing. I could give you like the summaries on each of the papers that I found.
Yeah, that's true. And then can you go back to the presentation slide that you had?
Yeah.
You please do send that to me,
Okay.
your slide. And then I would stress more on the fourth. Yeah.
Mhm.
I would stress more on the fourth paper and the like the your fourth and the third slide. Like those are the two
Okay.
papers that I would focus on. And just like thinking about use case, that would be the second and third.
Okay. So
Sorry, second and first, I think.
focus
Oh,
on.
sorry, your fourth and fifth is what I would focus on for our paper. Second and third is thinking about how they described the use case. So if you
Mm-hmm.
really think about it, in the second and your third slide, they have identified one use case, right? In
Mm-hmm.
our case, what is that use case?
On the side of first and second,
Yeah. See, in the
uh,
second and third slide, right, that you have, they've identified use cases. Do you agree?
yeah,
Right? For us, in our study, what is our use case?
uh, I mean, like, uh, clinicians doing assessments on their patients.
Mm-hmm. But that's not really our use case.
Oh wait, that's FI3. Oh my gosh. Um, you know, patients can take videos of themselves at home so they can do like, what's it called?
Mm-hmm.
How is it written now? What's the word? So that they
So,
can do real, like,
mhm.
yeah, real-time monitoring of their sit, like, their movement, their sit to stand.
Okay, got it. So
But,
I think I think with our use case, so this is what I envisioned, right? And this is what I'm going to zero down on. Just doing it for sit to stand is not good enough, right?
mhm,
I'm not convinced. Maybe other people could be, but I'm really not convinced. So when I had the conversation with our research group, the other thing that they told was when you're doing evaluations, right? For example, when it comes to uh, uh, let's say the muscle strength, right? See, the sit to stand and FI3. You read up about FI3. There are different tasks that are assigned. One is for upper limb and the other is for lower limb, and you also have neck flexion. So if you are doing upper limb, you are focusing on, shoulder flexion. And the other way to look for upper limb strength is doing the 1 kg arm lift. Like how you have the sit to stand, you give a 1 kg dumbbell to the patient and you ask them to be able to do this, right? This is
mhm,
the upper limb examination. Now, upper limb strength, that is equivalent to shoulder flexion in the FI3. Then
mhm.
the second thing is you have the lower limb strength, that is the sit to stand and the hip flexion for the FI3.
Yeah,
Make sense? So these are the two domains that really affect the disease that is myositis. So what is our use case? Our use case is we need to speak in a way. So I think you should take this down because this is a little bit important.
yeah,
So the use case I'm envisioning with this is you need to describe the disease activity when it comes to myositis. That is, it affects the upper and lower limbs the most. Then, because it affects the upper and lower limb, if you're able to take like regular tasks that the patient is performing at home, right?
mhm,
That is the sit to stand and the functional index, right? So that is the rationale for going with the sit to stand and functional index 3. But you're also doing the 1 kg arm lift, right? So you need to justify that as well. So you need to be able to justify using this technology to accurately quantify sit to stand, 1 kg arm lift, upper limb function of FI3 and lower limb function of FI3. That is the reason why I asked you to drop neck flexion. Make sense? So so we are going to explore these four options, these four functions using this technology, right? Then the other suggestion or another idea that I was given was you saw that through that video that I showed you, right? Real time tracking. You saw that it was able to detect your hand pretty well,
yeah,
right? To an extent. So if you can, like one of the tests is you take that happy ball or the sponge ball and then you ask them to press it, right? Based on how much they're able to press, you're able to say that that's how strong they are,
mhm.
right? Now, my question to you is through this video tracking technology, we can more objectively quantify that as well. right? With the technology that was there prior, that's the one that I showed you, it might not be able to do a good job. Do you agree?
Yeah.
Because those points would be so like crumpled down and we don't really know, like if you do it this way, if you do it this way, you might have, issues, right? So the question that he raised was, oh, can you do that? See, there are many things that you can do. What you should do, you need to like narrow down your ideas, right? And I hope that that is something that you think about when you're doing your literature review. You said that you want to look into like the technology and a little bit more in detail. I would suggest think
Mm-hmm.
of our particular use case, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is quantifying disease progression in myositis using technology. That is our vision. Given that is our vision, the mode that we are taking information is video camera. And it's not like, okay, CCTV camera, it is mostly smartphone based camera, right? So you need to think about, okay, should I use the front camera? Should I use the back camera? Should I use like, the stand or should I use anything else? So that is something that you need to, look into and think about, right? Then when it comes to execution, it's basically designing the right questionnaire. You have done a pretty good job with FI3, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's how you build like a questionnaire. And then the only two additions would be the sit to stand, right? That is just one small section.
Mm-hmm.
And the 1 kg arm lift, that also is like one more task, right? So that is the overview. So what I would like you to do next is review the other papers, keeping this concept in mind, and have like a see, I don't want you to make a full-fledged presentation, but I want you to make a roadmap with respect to the whole paper outline, right? When I say whole paper outline, it's like your study design. Makes sense? Like, why are you focusing on 1 kg arm lift or sit to stand or FI3, or why are you doing it a certain way? Does that
Mm-hmm.
make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
But when you
So
mean
that,
like whole paper, like the papers that I like the new papers that I find with the
Mhm.
latest technology or the papers that I already found?
No, just based on the papers that you already found. See,
Mm-hmm.
you are making like the reason why I asked you to make this was because you were going and reading, like you already had a structure in mind, right? Hey,
Yeah.
these are the things that I need to identify in these papers, right? So that was the task that was given last time. Now you have an idea of what a structure should look like. So given that you know the structure and given that you know the story that we are trying to tell, what structure would you come up with for our paper?
Mm, like,
The method.
oh, I don't know. We could probably like obviously first intro
Mm-hmm.
to, what we're doing, why we're
Mm-hmm.
doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think we should probably mention other papers, like, for example, here, let me show you like the last, the third and fourth paper, like they're pretty similar to what we are doing, but they
Yes,
obviously do have their limitations. So
correct.
we should talk about how we address those limitations. This is
Mm-hmm.
our introduction, and then
Mm-hmm.
we go into our method. That's the specifics on what we did, like how we did it,
Yes.
and then how we address the limitations.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Okay, can you let me give a demo. So can you open this paper?
this one.
Yes. So when you see this paper, right, it has a certain structure. Do you agree?
Yeah. Yeah.
You have certain key takeaways. I'm not
Mhm.
asking you to go and replicate this paper in first go, right?
Yeah.
When they came up with this idea, they would have gone to the drawing board and had like a logical, thing of the things that they're trying to address. See, in
Hmm.
this presentation you gave today, you told that, okay, hey, this is what the paper is focusing on, right? This is the use case for it. This is how they kind of designed it, and this is what made sense to me, right? Like that is something that I want out of you with respect to, hey, a bare bone structure of the logic that you want to use to sell our technology. Like, just look at this, for example, right? I'm not asking you to draft this right now. I'm just asking, think about high level stuff with respect to, hey, in the introduction, what's my general focus going to be,
Hmm.
right? Am I, why I'm looking at the particular use case a certain way through a
Yeah.
certain lens, right? And then what are the questions that I have to help me understand better about my use case? Make sense?
Hmm.
Then the other thing that I would say is whatever technology that you are going to read, one or two sentences about what you did not understand about it. See, with Coco JSON, right? So I feel like you had like some level of understanding when it came to this. So what was your understanding based on that? When they
Um,
told that we use common objects.
okay, common objects in context. What I took away from this was it's really just like common objects. We could be like, I was thinking probably like the hand is a common object
Mm-hmm.
that it's a common thing that people use. And then in
Yes.
context is like in like real world,
Mm-hmm.
um yeah, it's like
Okay.
in real world settings.
Okay, got it. So this is kind of what I want you to highlight when you are, telling that, hey, this is the model that I read, this is what I understood, right? So I'll tell you the reason. The reason is, see, first thing is I myself don't know a lot, right? I'm also reading up on these stuff. So what helped me was understanding of the common words that they're using. If you read two or three papers, you'll get an idea of what those common words are. So what they mean by having context and common object is when you take a big data set, right? That is already labeled, meaning, hey, this is the hand, this is the head, this is the knee, this is the elbow joint, whatever. That has been labeled. So when they take a picture, they have already highlighted that this region is going to be the hand, right? So when you are training your model, you are passing on that highlighted information. That is called the context, right? Not anything else. So in the picture, what are you highlighting? That is the context for the model. So based on that context, the model learns that, okay, this is the hand. Then it starts giving you output in saying that, hey, this is the hand. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
So just like a one or two sentences thing about what you understood from the explanation, right?
Okay.
So that is going to be very helpful when we compare to other models,
Okay.
right? As much as you can. See, I'm not expecting you to do everything. I'm just telling that, hey, any progress, I would be happy. Okay? I just want a high level outline of our paper.
Mm-hmm.
Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Okay. But I know it's a little bit hard. I understand. I'm just, no, I really do. Because I feel like you are doing a pretty good job and you have enough context that you are ready to, develop a, high level outline at this
Hmm.
stage, right?
Yeah.
You're smiling. So
I don't
that,
know. I just
uh Tell me,
I don't know.
ask
I feel
me.
like I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I feel confused, but then at the same time I get it and I'm able to apply the things that I'm learning.